Okay, so today I'm considering one of the topic from security side. Okay, so I'm gonna take AAA. So if I'm able to complete AAA, then I'll proceed with a little bit on access list. Okay, so my topics for the day are AAA and access list, but it depends how far I cover um, and what is the time we have for the day. Okay, fine. And with respective to the syllabus copy, let's quickly mark the things that's done. So this is the encore paper. So under encore paper, so we have covered NTP, we have covered syslog, so we are gonna cover AAA today. So we have covered the syslog configuration and we have verified on what port number it works and how is NTP gonna give us a proper timestamp. Okay, so this is from Encore coverage. And what about NRC? So under NRC we have done with lot of routing. We have done route map, we have done loop prevention, we have done redistribution. AAA is a topic for the day. Okay, and access list, I'll try to complete at least standard and extended. Might be time based, I will not get time. So if I don't get throughout, then I'll take access list in the next class. Okay, so here we have completed syslog and timestamps. We have completed DHCP. I'm just marking IPv6, but we will take IPv6 separately. Okay, so that's about from the NRC side. So yeah, we are completing in a good pace. Okay, we are neither very fast or we are not trying to wind up the portion, but yes, we are on a good track with good pace, and everyone are getting lot of time to practice and rewind the videos, redo the things in the weekend. Okay, so this is from the NRC. So I guess we are left with 30% of portion here, and from the encore might be we are left with I think 30 to 40 percent. Okay, or might be 30%, because a lot of concept, so these all wireless are all concept based topic, and if you see the virtualization, they are again concept based, and the starting few things are again concept based. Okay, fine, so let me close them. So the topic for today is AAA, and if I get time I'll do ACL, or we will do that in the next class. Okay, fine. So just a minute. Okay, so let me just plug the power. I can see the ghost touch. So my laptop don't work properly if I plug out the cable. So once I plug back the cable, it start working normally. Okay, so this is one of the topic from the security side. This used to be earlier in CCNA and CCNP security topics, the 2019 syllabus. But since you know that we don't have any thing for CCNA security now, okay, and since they have added up CCNP and core NRC, so we have AAA included in this topic, which is a enterprise part. Okay, so what is AAA? The AAA has three different functionality. We call it as authentication, authorization, and accounting. So the best example would be, so let's say you're making a bank transaction. Okay, so this is a banking portal. So while making a banking transaction or while making a banking using banking website, you normally input your username and password, right? And if this credential match or this username and the credential match, you're gonna get authenticated. So we call that process as authenticated or authentication, right? So you're sending username and password in the form of packets. The server or the bank server is gonna check those username and password, and if they're right, they are gonna get authorized. If not, they are gonna get declined. Fine. Now let's say what is authorization. So let's say you're forwarding some money. So let's say you're processing something. You're trying to send $100 to your account. Okay, so since you have authorization, it doesn't mean that you can make it $500. Okay, you're forwarding or you're sending $100 into your account. Since you have username and password, it doesn't mean that you are authorized to do $500, right? So whatever you're transferring, the same number gets credited in your bank account, right? So authorization is something that it it's basically it says that a user is not, or user is allowed only to perform the task which he is supposed to do. Okay, if you are sending $100, doesn't increase or you cannot increase the values, so it should be the same value. So it's about the change that you are making, and it's gonna be the same from the banking side. Neither bank can change that, neither you can change that. Okay, it's about the authorization. The last one, which is accounting. Accounting is nothing but whatever you did. Let's say you had a username and password declined for the first time, so you get a log message one generated saying that the username was declined. Might be the next attempt was successful, so you get created second log message saying it was successful. Similar way, the log message 3 gets accumulated whenever you are transferring something. So let's say the first you transferred $100, might be then you transfer something else, and this way the AAA is seen in one particular example. Now if I talk about the same AAA from the networking boxes point of view, where do we see this? Okay, what example I gave you was just a common example from a layman's point of view. But if I bring up the same example on a networking box, so let's see how can I correlate AAA with a live networking example. So let's say we have a user over here, and the user is provided with some laptop or a computer. Okay, and this user has access to the devices like all the routers. Okay, might be we have to a say firewall, and similar way, let's say we have some load balancers, F5 load balancers. Okay, so in the case of AAA, it deals with three different properties. The first one is authentication. So let's say he's provided with some username and password. Okay, so in order to access any of the boxes, he has to either telnet or he has to SSH. So let's say he is trying to SSH one of the box. Okay, let's say he is trying to SSH on this with this credential. Okay, is he authorized? Is he getting authenticated? That depends on the username and password. If I have allowed his username and password, if I say this user is supposed to uh, authenticate on box number 1, 2, 3 and 4, but not on fifth one, right? So his authentication will get successful on all these 4 but get failed over here, right? That's authentication. On whichever the user is allowed, he is gonna access only those many devices, not anything beyond or not anything lesser to that, right? So that's authentication. If I talk from the authorization point of view, let's say he took the access of this box, but what is he allowed to do? Is he allowed to do all the show running commands? Is he allowed to do any config change? Is he allowed to do any critical changes? No, right? So that depends on authorization. What kind of level are you giving to this? If you know, we have 0 to 15 levels in a Cisco box. 15 is considered to be the root person who has both read and write, and he can access all the commands, he can trigger all the commands. But if I give this user admin as a privilege of 2, then he might be able to do just a few commands, only few show commands and nothing else, right? So that's authorization. What is he authorized to do? Having credential doesn't mean he can do all the read and write. It's something that authorization will say that you are only authorized to do level 2 performance or level 2 command, nothing more than that, right? And the last one here is accounting. So let's say he is a user with level 15. He went to the box, he configured something, he restarted, might be he shut down. The entire user activities are getting recorded. Okay, all the entire activities from doing SSH till he coming out of the box, whatever he did, it's getting recorded. And the reason why we use accounting is it is more clear in the production to know who did the change, right? Sometimes what happens is we might be doing parallel changes. Okay, let's say we have a change window 3 to 5 p.m. Might be we have 20 different CRs, okay, change request, and all of a sudden we see that one of the CR, whoever is doing one of the CR, let's say XYZ, he's not from my location, might be he's from a different location, and all of a sudden all the calls get to my desk saying that something went down. And when I do a troubleshoot, I come to know that this is a part of one of the CR, and the user, let's say David, is doing the change, right? So that's make me more easier to narrow down. I say that this is done by David and it's a part of the CR, and that's all because of the accounting is gonna keep the session, it's gonna keep the record of everything what is done by this person, what is the commands he triggered, what was the change and what are the commands he triggered. Sometimes it's possible that you are given some change task but you trigger some different commands out of your own interest and which might have got the impact. Now that make it easier for us to see what happened during that window what triggered this outage. Okay, so uh, these three uh, capabilities of AAA is seen in the case of authentication, authorization, and accounting. And why we do use this? What is the main purpose of AAA? Okay, is there no other way to define username or password? Is there no different way to provide the privilege level? We can of course do this, right? This is a manual way of doing it. If I have a user, I can create a user. It's very simple. I just go, I create a username, I say David, I give a password, Cisco, and I give him a privilege of 10, or let's say 15, right? So it's possible, manually it's possible. But what is the challenge here? The challenge is you have to do this manually on all your routers, which is ASA firewall, F5 load balancer everywhere, right? If you're having 10,000 of devices, you need to do this 2 3 steps on all of the devices. Okay, that's one challenge. Now let's say this user is moving out of the company. Now you have to go back to all 10,000 devices and delete them manually. Now that's increasing the manual work. That's why we don't prefer the manual way. Instead, we go with the AAA. Okay. Now, how is AAA gonna help me, or how is AAA gonna automate the things? Don't I have to do this on every device, or how is it gonna work? Okay. So let's say I keep a AAA server. Okay, you get plenty of package. You can get a package for a Windows, or you can get a package for a Linux. Okay, which has a AAA functionality. If you talk from the Cisco point of view, you had something called Cisco ACS. Now that's end of life, and you have something called Cisco ICE, right? You might have heard about Cisco ICE. So these are the two products by Cisco which is capable of running AAA. But let's say you don't have these two. You still can bring the AAA functionality in your lab or in your organization. Just go to Google and download some Windows or Linux based, and just top it on your VM workstation. Okay, so that will make this server as a AAA capable server. Now, how is AAA server connected? So let's say this is that AAA server which has all the AAA functionality: authentication, authorization, and accounting. So this AAA server is connected to your router. Okay, and this router is where your user is trying to get access to. Okay, so let's say he make a SSH connection. He make a SSH connection on this device 192.168.1.100. Okay, so he makes a SSH 192.168.1.100. So he will be prompted for two things: username and password. Okay, so he's gonna enter the username and password. He's gonna say it's admin and the password is Cisco. So what happens is the packets will be sent. Okay, the credentials are taken to the Cisco box, and since Cisco box we have configured the AAA configuration, it's gonna send a backend packet to the AAA server. Now, what kind of backend packet is that? So it will make use of Radius protocol, or it will make use of the TCAS protocol. So there are two protocols. So you can make use of either one. So this is a Cisco proprietary, and this is a open standard. Okay, so as soon as your SSH with the credentials reaches to the router, since you have configured AAA, the router is gonna send a backward facing packet towards AAA, and now this is the server that's gonna keep every record. It's gonna say that, okay, so I have a authentication coming for admin. Now what is the privilege set for him? So it's privilege 2, right? So the AAA is gonna reply back saying yes, he is authenticated, he is a right person, this is his authorization level, he is set to only 2, and then the device is gonna send a successful message. or your, I can say the SSH port is open. Okay, and now the user can trigger the commands and he can get it done. Now what happens is each and individual records or the logs will be getting stored in the backend on a AAA server with the help of that last A which says accounting. So whatever you do in that SSH session, okay, the session records will be taken back to the AAA server, and there is where it will get recorded every step. Now let's say you done with your job, you're just disconnecting from the SSH, you will lose the connection, you are just coming out of SSH. Now if you wanna SSH once again, the renegotiation will happen. You will do a SSH, router will send that to the AAA server. AAA server will see if the username and password is right or wrong, and it's gonna respond back, and then the router is gonna say if it's right or successful, or you have to change your password or whatever it is. Okay, so in AAA concept, okay, in this AAA concept, the main factors are that radius and TechAS. How this radius and TechAS work? What is the difference between the two? Okay, so guys, I believe you're good with the AAA, the meaning of AAA, where is it used, how is it used, what is the main purpose of using AAA, because I cannot manually configure the local username and password on every devices in my production. I have to make use of some automated concept. Okay, so in this case what happens is I just create this user, okay, and all my other devices are just pointing to this server. So if someone wants to authenticate, the router just has to send it to AAA, and inside AAA there is the entry created for this. So I don't have to create the entry for individual time. It's once done, and just the router or the switches will send it to the AAA. That's all. Okay, so that's how it's gonna be synchronized, and we can just minimize the manual task. Okay, you just have to plug one AAA and your job is easy. Okay, TechAS server and Radius server. So they are like one to be used. Okay, it's not that you use both of them. It's sometimes it's most of the time it's only one protocol that we use, but very rare cases when you need a backup failover, or when you need a second backup. So in that case you can use Radius protocol, or let's say you have TechAS and you need a backup protocol, then you can use Radius. But the best practice is that make use of the double servers instead of one server, and keep one unique protocol. Okay, I mean to say, don't just rely on single AAA server. Okay, you have two different AAA servers, and make the common protocol, either TechAS or Radius. So let me tell you what is the difference between these two. So TechAS work on the TCP. As soon as I say TCP, it's gonna take the three-way handshake. Okay, so that makes it slower because of the negotiation. Whereas this, it works on UDP. Okay, since it's UDP, there is no three-way handshake. It's faster than TechAS server. What is the TCP port number for the TechAS protocol? So it's TCP 49. What about in the case of Radius? Now in the case of Radius, there is a interesting thing. Okay, you will always see people writing it as 812.1645.8113.1646. Okay, so this is for authentication, this is for accounting. Okay, if you see here, all the AAA will have a common port number, TCP 49, but in the case of Radius, the protocol numbers are different. The reason is, until 2000, okay, until the year 2000, these were the unofficial protocol numbers for the radius authentication and accounting. It was later on after 2000 when authentication and accounting were documented under radius, and that's why the official protocol was later on launched with this. Now you might be wondering, why was not these protocol considered to be official, right? So once we were, so like we were already using 1645 and 146, so after 2000 or the year 2000, why were not those two protocol made up as official, right? The thing was, officially 1645 and 1646 were being patented for a different services, okay, services like some data metrics. Okay, if you want to see them, you just have to open up the list of TCP UDP. Who provides this? INA provides it. Okay, the Internet Authority System, or the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. So they are providing the UDP and TCP. So if you see TCP 49, which is TechAS server, that's good. Okay, but in the case of radius, if you go with 1645, you can see here. So earlier it was radius server, but after the year 2000, they could not reserve this because this was already been taken by the service called data matrix. Okay, if you just open up these links, you will come to know that they were taken up by different services. So the protocol number had to be something else. So later on they considered it to be 1812 as a official number. So this is a unofficial number when radius was not been patented. Okay, it was just making use of 1645 along with the different services. But once it officially declared, officially they uh, patented, then they had to take up the new port number 1812. The same thing happened with the 1646. This was for the radius accounting. Okay, for the radius accounting. But once they patented, they had to go with 1813. So what, how does this impact our configuration? Okay, so on a Cisco box, we still make use of 1645 and 1646 by default. So while configuring, I have to implicitly say that these are my port numbers. That is because for the backward compatibility concerns. Okay. So as to have the backward compatibility, my Cisco is still pointing on this. I have to configure, while configuring, I have to mention the new port numbers. But in the case of TechAS, it's very simple. There is nothing to be taken off. Okay, these are the precautions during radius server. What else, or what are the different or what are the difference between the two? So this is a Cisco proprietary, whereas this is a open source. What else do we have? So basically TechAS is gonna support 15 privilege levels. That's your Cisco, because it's a Cisco protocol. Whereas in the case of radius, since it's non-Cisco product, so it can have any kind of privilege level. So we just call it as uh, limited to privilege mode. Okay, they are limited with respective to privilege. So in the case of TechAS, the authentication, authorization, and accounting are treated as three different entities. But whereas here, in the case of radius, the authentication and authorizations are considered to be one. Okay, so they both are getting considered to be one, whereas here all the three gets individual accountability. So basically all the three are treated as a three different features, but here authentication and authorization is treated to be one. Over here the main thing and the last thing is it's gonna encrypt the whole communication, with the sense it's gonna encrypt the header that's carrying the TCAS information, and also the data packet. Okay, the whole data packet is gonna get encrypted. But in the case of Radius, since it's a UDP and it's faster, they don't encrypt the entire packet, they are just gonna encrypt the passwords only. Okay, the rest of the header, the rest of the data packet are still plain text which can be decrypted. It's only the password that's gonna get encrypted. So these are the some differences between the two protocols. Okay, so let me show you this live now, or let me first show you over on the PDF. Okay, so these are the three protocol and three features of the AAA protocol. These are the differences. This is a short note where I say what is the little background, or a small background on the port numbers. Okay, so it was in 2000, here 2000, where the officially numbers were being assigned. Okay, so as you all know, how does the AAA work? So basically, if let's say I have a switch, and a switch is connected to multiple routers, okay, and similar way switch is also connected to AAA server, okay, and I have a user. How does a user connect? He can make use of a telnet or SSH. So while he initiate this, his packet with the username and password will be also considered. Okay, so what does this switch do? The switch is just broadcasting. So where is it initiated? So basically, let's say it's initiated to the router 1. What is router 1 gonna do? Router 1 says that I have the AAA features enabled. Okay, so I myself cannot make the decision of letting him successful or making him down. Okay, so what R1 is gonna do is R1 is gonna send the AAA packets to the AAA server. Now what protocol is carrying that? So it will be your TCAS server, or a TCAS protocol, or it could be a Radius. Okay, so the AAA will do the authorization, authentication, and it will start the accounting session. Okay, so it's gonna reply back to the router. He is a rightful person. Router is gonna send that information to this user, and that's how the initial authentication happen. And then whatever is authorized, the user can only do a authorization on that level only, and whatever he is doing, whatever he is triggering, that will be getting documented with the help of the accounting feature of the AAA server. Okay, so this is a protocol that we are interested to see on which protocol they work. What is a difference between TCAS and Radius? What are the dissimilarities between the two, in the point, or from the point of packets? Okay, so that's our main thing over here. So what I do is I just go to my GNS. Okay, I just have put some just I have put some banner kind of thing, so that the other components don't disturb us. So I have my AAA server, and once again over on GNS marketplace we have a ready-made template. Okay, so if I show you this, so if you go to GNS appliance, And if you look for AAA server, we have a ready-made template. So this is the template. Okay, so this template will provide both the features or both the services, radius and techas. So that's why sometimes GNS is very helpful in all these way. Okay, then that's the reason why I initially told you I went with GNS or not with the EVNG or EVNG Pro. Okay, I heard EVNG Pro we can. Are we good? Do you hear me? So do you guys hear me or any problem with my audio? So do you guys can hear me? Do you guys can see my screen? I got disconnected and I automatically connected once again. Okay, I guess it's fine now. Okay, great. Yeah, so as I was talking about GNS and EVNG, we have a ready-made template, so I can easily show you these two protocols. Okay, so this is my AAA server. How do I configure? It's on a Linux platform, so I just need to give one static IP. So I can give any static IP. Okay, so so I can see there are some one dot series. So let's give it uh, 1.1.50, and this let me make it as 100. Okay, and this I'll use it on my switch. So this is the IP address of the AAA server. I'll open up the switch. Take the console. So I'll power on these AAA servers. Okay, and let's give an IP here. So let's see, do I have something already? No. So I'll prefer giving an IP to the VLAN. So let's say IP address 192, or I have already copied the IP 255.255.255.0. No shut. Okay. Let's try to ping this now. So what is the IP over here? It's 150. Okay, so let me say it's 150, and let me make sure it's reachable. If I ping 192.168.1.150, they are reachable. Okay, so there is a reachability between my switch and the AAA server. Okay, now what about the user? From the user point of view, I'll take this computer, I'll give the same subnet 192.168.1 dot something, and I'll just try to configure telnet. Okay, telnet or SSH can be anything. I just need the authentication to be enabled. So let's bring up the computer. So this computer, which is on a Alpine Linux, let's give it a static IP. So let's say he is 1.1 and the router is 1.100. Let me power it on. Okay, let's see the IP. It's 1.1. Let me try to ping my Cisco box, which is 1.100. So it's reachable. What about my AAA server? They are The AAA server is reachable. Okay. My main intention is not to reach the AAA server on a ping. That's not something what I'm looking for. My main intention is just to have the connectivity between my PC5 and the router, because this is important for me. Okay, and later on the switch and the AAA server will have their own communication subnet. So let's say if I do a telnet, a basic telnet on 192.168.1.100. So okay, so I think I cannot use the telnet here because these telnet is not recognized by the servers. Okay, what I can do is I can bring some VPCs, and I hope they know what is a telnet. Okay, so let me connect from here to this, and let me power on. So these are the VPS host machine. So we don't have to do a right click and configure. So I don't think, okay, so they have something, but we can easily configure them from the start menu. So first I'll start that. I'll take the console. Okay, let me give the IP 192.168.1.2 because 1.1 was given to that. And what is the format it's gonna use? It's /24 and the gateway 192.168.1.100. Okay, let me verify. So looks good. Let me ping 192.168.1.100. It's fine. Okay, and let me give a try doing a telnet. Okay, so telnet is again not recognized. What about SSH? Okay, it's not. So what I do is I'll just delete these two things. Okay, I cannot keep them because they are of no use for me. So what I do, I just bring one more switch or a router, and I'll show you the AAA authentications. So let me bring a small IOU box. Okay, from where I'll take the SSH or telnet. I wish these two instances had telnet or SSH. The things would have been pretty simple, right? Just SSH and okay. Anyway, so let me start this. Let me take the console. So since this is a router, I first have to configure the interface 0/0 IP address 192.168.1.1 no shutdown. Okay, and if I do a telnet, or might be I can first try with a ping. So they are neighbors, so they should reach. Okay, and if I give a telnet now, they will not work. The reason is we have not configured telnet. So that was my point. So I'm gonna take this switch once again. Okay, the switch once again, and I'm gonna configure the required credentials manually. So I told you we can configure manually, but the thing is we cannot do this on a 10,000 boxes, or if someone is quitting the company, I cannot go back to the 10,000 device and remove the entries, right? So I'm doing the manual work. So let me show you how do I do manual work. So I go to line VTY04. I say it's transport input telnet. I say login local because local is for the local username and password, and login is for considering the username and password. Okay, so if I show you what is login, so it says enable password checking. Okay, enable password checking. And if you have login with local, that means the password and usernames are going to be locally set. Okay, so if I make use of login and question mark, the local password checking, right? So that's why I said login local. I come out of this, I go to username, I say admin, I give the privilege of 15, I set password to be Cisco. We are good. Let's give a try now. I go back to the router, I do a telnet, it's gonna ask me for username, I say it's admin, password is Cisco. I guess I did a wrong password. Let me retry. Okay, and there we go. We are now inside this box. Okay, we took a direct telnet of this box. There was no AAA involved at the moment. This is a manual way which is not recommended. Okay, now let's configure AAA server. So I'll make use of the AAA server, and gradually what happens is whatever credentials that you used at the moment, they're gonna get failed. As soon as you bring the AAA model, the local is gonna get failed, because once you have AAA server, by default the switch is gonna send to the AAA server for the credential check. So it's no longer gonna check the local, even though you have your username and password locally set, it will not be getting considered. Okay, the first preference will be given to the AAA server. If the AAA server is down, then it will consider what is the local, or whatever the local username password you have configured, then that's the second preference. Okay, so let's configure AAA server. So let me show you how do we get AAA server up. It's just a single command. So I say AAA new model. So as soon as I do this, this is as good as activating AAA server. Okay, now let's define the host, let's define the AAA server and the key that this AAA server has within it for the TechAS users. Okay, so I'm gonna say AAA group server. I'm making use of this protocol. I say TechAS plus, and I'm gonna give some word. Okay, so let's say we say that it's a GNS group. Okay, I'm making use of TechAS, remember that. And then I'm gonna put some server name. Okay, let's say a some easy word. Okay, let's say it's a container. Okay, it's just a container, and then I come out of this. So once I come out of this, you can see it says that this container has been created, but it's not been defined. Okay, now within the container, I'm gonna include the IP address of my AAA server. Okay, so now I open up my container. I say TechAS server, and what is the container? This is the word. I press enter, and now I define my IP address. So it's 1.50, the IP address of the AAA server. Fine. What is the key? When you do telnet, you need username and password, right? So what is the username and password? So that's already embedded within AAA package. Okay, so whoever have developed this package, he has created a username and password. Okay, how can I see that? So if I happen to show you, just go to cd etc techas. Okay, and if you do a ls, so this is the file, this is the package which is gonna have the dummy username and password that we are supposed to use. Okay, so this can be changed, this can be changed, but the person or the developer who has created this package, we are just gonna take the same thing. It's just a lab, right? So if I happen to show you what is the content of that, so you will see it's a bunch of lines, and what is the username and password that he has defined. So he say the username is gonna be, so do you see anything for user? So you have one user. Okay, this is one user, which reads out to be test 1. Do we have something else? This is the password. Okay, so he has asked us to make use of this. Let me grep for user. Okay, so there is something called as GNS also. So you can see there are couple of users that's been created. We have a user test, but don't make use of that because they are grayed out. That means it's not effective. You can make use of default, you can make use of GNS, you can make use of read only, but I'm gonna make use of GNS. It looks genuine to me. Okay, so if I open once again the package, and if I just look for GNS, this is the one which I will use it. Okay, so my username is gonna be GNS3 and my password is gonna be GNS3. But yes, you can change this in the production. If you're making use of this package, you can just change the way you want. Okay, fine. So I'm gonna say the key is GNS3. Where did I get from? I got it from the package which I downloaded from the GNS website. Okay, that's all. I have configured the IP address, I have configured the key, I come out of this. Now the last important thing is the AAA method of authentication. Okay, so you are gonna say what is the first method of authentication for you. So you're gonna say AAA authentication. Whenever someone is logging, by default he must make use of the group TechAS, okay, or whatever the group that I have created. So I am gonna say this is my first preference. But let's say for some reason there was a reachability issue between this and this. If there is some issue, what is gonna happen if you send some authentication, and if a switch is trying to send it to the AAA server, and if AAA server is not gonna be able to send back the authenticated packet, so basically you will not be able to get connected, right? So what you do, so basically what you do is you put something for a backup or a fallback. Okay, so what you do is first preference, keep the AAA, and if this doesn't work, as a backup, keep the local username and password that you have. Now the local username and password don't have to be employee point of view. You can just have one admin user and password for that device, which you are after all creating for all the boxes, right? So the main intention is to uh, minimize your workload. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep my first preference as TechAs, and I'm gonna say if TechAs don't work, then I have the local username and password. Okay, the user local username and password. Fine. And now we need to so this is all done, but let's say you have the enable password and enable password set, which in case I don't have, so we can exclude that for now. So these are few things which I had to do now. So let's say I configured this as my fallback. These are the configurations that I had to do in order to bring the AAA servers. Okay, and I'm making use of the TechAS protocol. Now let's quickly check with the help of the local username and password. Okay, so if I come out of this, if I retry to do a telnet, and if I make use of the local admin and password, so it will not work. The reason is I have AAA server now. See, it's not gonna work, admin and Cisco. So shall I open a Wireshark packet capture here and make sure that packet are being forwarded to the AAA server, and AAA server is of course gonna mark them down because uh, admin and Cisco is not recognized by the AAA. It's your GNS and GNS that's recognized by the AAA, right? So if I do once again admin and Cisco, so you can see what happened. The switch or the Cisco box is forwarding the packets over on the TechAS protocol. Okay, but eventually they will be failed because authentication will not happen, right? So if I just open one of the packet, so you will not be able to see anything because they are encrypted. That's what we read. The entire packets are gonna be encrypted. Okay, the headers, the password field, everything. But we can see from this point that the TechAS has been initiated. We can see the protocols, we can see the authentication happening, but they will fail. You can see the finish packet being sent by the AAA because AAA is not happy with the credentials. Okay, you can see the TechAS packet over here. So this is not a successful message, so they are gonna not get connected. Now let's do with the rightful username and password, that's GNS3 and GNS3, and yes, we are in, right? So if I show you now, okay, let me do once again. So it's GNS3, GNS3. So where are the packets? So are these the packet? Or let me quickly do once again. Okay, so we have the packets, we do GNS3, GNS3, and we are good. Okay, so you can see the authentication packets happening. They are successful packets. We have the authentications. Okay, now let's assume for some reason this goes down. So I'll just or I just instead of deleting I can shut down, but okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll say that this link is down for some reason. Now let's see what happens. So basically it is waiting for some time to get timed out. Okay, since I deleted that link between the two. Okay, I can just close and open, but then I have to reconfigure the IP address. So let me just wait if this console comes back. Okay, so let me close this and open. Okay, so I all need to do is just configure the interface IP. So I go to interface E0/0. I say IP address 192.168.1.255.255.250, no shutdown. Okay, and let me give a telnet test. Okay, that could be because of the spanning tree. So what is this interface? It's 0/0. Okay, let me ping now. So this is 1.1, and what is the IP over here? Let me just bounce the port once. Let me give it a retry. One 192.168 1.100. Okay. Okay, let me do one thing. I guess this could be issue with the GNS. So I'll just plug a new cable. Okay, and we can give a ping test. So this is a L2. Let me see if the VLANs are not getting blocked. They're all forwarding. Show VLAN brief. Okay. So anyone see some typo error or something in my case? So let me try giving a different VLAN IP. Let me make this as 101. Shirt and no shirt. And let me try pinging 101. So with respect to spanning tree, it's fine. What about from this side? 1.1. This is very strange. It just worked and now it's not even pingable on the directly connected interface. It looks like a bug, but I'm just wondering how come all of sudden. I hope it's not any silly mistake from my side trying to rule out. Okay, I can do one thing. I'll just reload the routers. Okay, so this could be issue with the instances. So I'll just save whatever I have and I'll reload. So this things happens. Just don't lose patience. So let me ping now 192.168.101. So let's see some packets. So we can see it going. So what is the issue? So let me see the subnet. So by mistakenly, if I configured a wrong subnet. So this is class 24. What about this? Yeah, so that's great. It's a class 24 or class C it is, right? Okay, I can try giving a static route, but which is not really required, but looks like there's no other way for this glitch. 192.168.1.1. Okay, and now let's give a ping. No, I'm not using sub interfaces. It's just a VLAN 1, and I just put a layer 3 IP on the VLAN 1. So there's no sub interfaces. In fact, it worked. The moment I rebooted one side, it stopped working. So I guess it's a glitch from GNS. But I just want to see that there's no issue from my side, because this just worked while showing the TechAS protocol. But once I disconnected the link and I happened to reboot, and then it's started behaving crazy. So this is class 24 or slash 24 subnet 192.168. What do I have here? It's 192.168.1. That's fine. Well, I actually don't want to use sub interfaces. If I have happen to use the interface, I can just directly bind IP on the physical interface. And I can see VLAN 1 is being mapped to the first interface. So I can see VLAN 1 is mapped here, and I have the layer 3 configured on VLAN 1, something like SVI, okay? SVI configuration. So what I do is I'll just do an physical IP address, okay, over on the interface. So let's say interface E0/0, and I give a direct IP on the interface, but that was not my requirement. Let's make it as 65. No switch port. Okay, so I have to clear VLAN 1 and then give an IP. Interface E0/0, no shutdown. And if I ping now to 65, so you see there is still issue. So this issue is from the GNS. So even though they are on a same subnet, they are not reachable. So on one phasing interface, I have 1.1, and similar way on the second phasing interface, I have 1.65. So they are in a same network. So what I'll do is I'll take down this router. Okay, might be this router is the culprit. So I'll take down this. I'll put another one, and I'll make use of some other interface. Okay, so let's see how it works. Let's start. Let's take the console. So it's E0/1 to E1/0. Okay, so on one side it's E0/1. I say no shutdown. I say IP address 192.168.1.1 no shutdown. And on the other side I need to default 0/0. Okay, I'll go to interface E1/0. I say IP address 192. Hi, so I guess I was disconnected. Okay. So this didn't work once again. Okay. I just tried to ping 192.168.1. So looks like I have to re close and restart the GNS 192.168.1.100, and I'm pinging the same IP. So guys, we'll do one thing. We'll take this in the next class. Okay. So I have to close this, restart, which will take like 10-15 minutes for restarting the GNS server. Okay. So let's take this in the next class. Okay. So do you have any question for me, or do you have any solution for this, or have you seen this kind of issue which you want me to try out? I guess it was a pretty simple configuration, just a straight line, right? So it happens with GNS. Okay, EVNG is trustable for such reasons. Let me give one last try, which is a not something which is to be required, but let's give a try. No, this is not working, so looks like I have to close and restart. Okay, so we will meet up in the next class, and I will discuss about the same topic, and we do the same lab. Okay, so I'm winding off. I had plans to complete AAA for the day, but unfortunately, due to the technical reason, I cannot show you the lab. Okay, so I'll take this up in the next class. So guys, any doubt before I wind up? Are we good for the day?